And I'm just getting absolute breaking news right now, just handed to me by one of the journalists here. DeMonte Kendrick, one of the co-defendants, has been meeting with Fani Willis regarding a plea deal. And that's absolutely what we would expect, that Fani Willis is trying to make the deals to end her office's exposure in the case while trying to obtain some sort of substantive justice. The personal conflict between the defense attorneys and the state, never seen anything quite as vicious. It's so bad that Mr. Steele has stated on the record he will not discuss the case with DA Adrian Love and only will discuss it with DA Willis because the decline and the destruction of the professional relationship between the state and the defense. So the meetings that happened last night and this morning, that's huge. They could literally be walking out with a full resolution of all charges, and we could have seen the last trial day of YSL.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl Nick, and you're tuned in to Nick at Night, and I'm here to give you guys an update for this YSL trial. Now, today we were supposed to get a big announcement as to whether the judge was going to grant a mistrial or not. Now, there was a lot of anticipation built up. There was all of the news media from all around Atlanta in the building in Fulton County trying to see what the fate of Young Thug and the other defendants was going to be. They had set a time that the stream was going to start. The announcement was going to start 12 p.m. Eastern. And then Law and Crime came and told us that there was no court today and that the judge has sent everyone home. Now, I did some research and I've been looking around the internet, and Law and Crime has just officially announced that there will not be any court today or tomorrow, and there is expecting to be some type of announcement or statement on Monday now in this trial. Now, I'm going to walk you guys through all of that. First, we're going to start with Doug Weinstein, who is one of the attorneys litigating in this trial on behalf of Yak Gotti. And then we're going to end with Law and Crime's editor saying that there's no court for today or tomorrow. And then we're just going to do that like that and me updating y'all. Now, on Doug Weinstein's Twitter account, he updated and he stated that the reason why court was canceled was because they were still talking with the judge doing bench conferences. So this is Doug Weinstein's Twitter right here. He represents Yak Gotti. And on his Twitter, he started out the day by giving an update on what was to possibly expect. He started out by saying that court was going to start at 11:30. He said that, court is very unpredictable, but he had a big smile on his face, basically alluding that something was in the works, but we just had to wait and figure it out. Now, this is posted on his TikTok and also on his Twitter account. Now, then he had posted right here where he said, "Good morning, everyone. I look forward to tuning in today like everyone else to see what's happening." Under this thread, people were like, yo, after they announced that court was over, they're like, yo, Dougie Doug, what's the deal? What's happening here? And he confirmed that court was canceled because they're still in conversations with the judge. So as you can see right here, let me bring it up. This person says, "Doug, what happened? There's no court today?" And Doug responded and said, "There are bench conferences." Now, if you go on over to handy dandy Google and you really don't know what certain court terms mean, it means that the defense attorneys are still in conversation with the judge. Now, there are people who are alleging, and let's see if he wrote anything else. Okay, he has not updated anything else. There's chatter from other attorneys, not attorneys that are on this case, but I think there was Fit Lawyer ATL or something like that. People are circulating a thing on Twitter saying that she made an announcement saying that Fani Willis was trying to hold off until after the election. Now, I really don't know how true that is, but we see that there is a delay for today and there's a delay for tomorrow as well. And on Monday, who knows if there's going to be another delay. But according to the people that were in the courtroom, Dennis Byron and Infamous Sylvia and so many others that were there, boots on the ground inside the courtroom, they reported and they said that Fani Willis was there at Fulton County Courthouse and she was having meetings individually with each defendant and their attorneys to try to negotiate some type of deal. Dennis Byron was showing how all of the news media was there, and it was a lot of anticipation built up for them to then say, no court today, judge sent everyone home. Now, over on Law and Crime's editor's page, she announced that there's no court today and tomorrow, like I said. So let me pull that up and show you guys. So right here, it says Kathy Russin, and she is the managing editor at Law and Crime. And then she letting y'all know that, you know, even though she worked for them, she got her own opinions, period. So she started out by saying that, you know, we're in the courtroom. This was when we first was supposed to hear some type of update. And then she came back with letting us know that court is going to resume on Monday. So she said, currently unknown, there will be a trial tomorrow or even next week. We'll update as soon as we know something. And then she came back with confirmation and she confirmed that there is going to be no court tomorrow. It appears plea negotiations are ongoing. The plan for now is Monday at 9 a.m. So there you have it. She is announcing that the plea negotiations are ongoing. So we may have an end to this very lengthy trial. Now, if you guys are under a rock and you're like, wait a minute, mistrial, plea negotiations, what happened? What's going on? Well, I did a full live yesterday breaking down all of the goings-ons that's goings-ons. If you guys don't know, because it's not really reflected on my channel, but I watch this trial every single day. Every single day, I start my morning with watching the YSL trial. I'm in the chat, actively engaging, talking to people, and looking at everything that is happening with this trial. While I'm looking at the trial, I'm simultaneously, you know, multitasking, looking up stories and doing other things. But my focus in the morning is mostly dedicated to the trial. Now, yesterday in the trial, there was a rapper who is Lil Durk's former OTF artist who took the stand. Now, being that Lil Durk is from Chicago, you're like, wait, Lil Durk, a Chicago artist, took the stand. Yes, so a guy who was raised around Young Thug, grew up in Atlanta, he got signed to Lil Durk, and it is alleged that he got dropped once he took a plea deal in this case. But anyway, he took the stand, and when he took the stand, he first made mention of one of the defendants being locked up. And then he was instructed by the DA to read hashtags on a photo. And the photo had a redacted version that they put on the screen, but they handed him a paper of an unredacted version and told him to read it. So he read it. And in one of the hashtags, it said free Quay, which prompted a mistrial because this was a big deal last week. Now, if you guys don't know, again, last week there was a detective, which was one of the big key detectives. He investigated, he interrogated a lot of the YSL members. He had a lot of ongoing interrogations with Little Woody, and he was like key and instrumental in the investigation of this case, along with Shady Gaither and other people that was investigating this case. He was on the stand, and when he was on the stand, he was given a very, very good testimony, in my opinion. He was connecting the dots and showing how there was the If Gang versus YSL beef, and how this person did this, and then they retaliated, and then after they retaliated, then this person retaliated. This person, mama house, got shot up from this clique, and then this person got shot up from this clique, and he was kind of weaving the pieces together. Well, while he was weaving the pieces together, he ended up talking and discussing a picture of Yak Gotti, who was standing on top of YFN Lucci's car. So he was then asked questions about YFN's car and Yak Gotti standing on it, and what the deal was about that, to explain, this back and forth that they had going on. And when he was doing that, he mentioned that this photo happened after Yak Gotti got out of prison, and basically introducing bad character evidence of Yak Gotti, which him as a lead detective, he's not supposed to do. He's not supposed to be alluding to them being on in prison. He's not supposed to be introducing bad character evidence other than what he's directly asked of him by the state's attorney. The judge got really upset about it. They motioned for a mistrial. She denied the mistrial, but she sanctioned the prosecution, and she struck his entire testimony. Any exhibits that he was able to enter in, they redacted them from the record and sealed anything that he had from the record, took all the jury's notes and ripped up their notes from anything that he said in his testimony. And it was a really big deal. And the judge was like, I should bring him back in here. I should admonish him. But she said, nah, y'all just let him know how I feel. And that was that. He got forbidden from ever being able to come back, because they have been bringing the detectives back and back and back to explain different parts of the story that they're trying to tell about YSL and the rivalry that they have with If Gang. So that was like a big punishment to the state. The judge instructed them that they need to prep their witnesses. They need to make sure that anything like that doesn't ever happen again. And then we had it happen again yesterday with the new witness mentioning people being locked up and reading information into the record that was not supposed to be read into the record, giving him an unredacted paper to read from, but then putting the redacted version on the screen, which the judge finally said, you know what? Y'all want a mistrial? What y'all want? Y'all not gonna get it with prejudice, but I'll entertain giving y'all a mistrial. So, figure it out, and I'll let y'all know. She came back, and then we were supposed to find out what the fate was today, to which we find out that we won't find out the fate until Monday. Now, as I stated, there was plea negotiations that are underway, and not all of the defendants have reached a plea that is to their liking, and the court was halted. According to Seti Nash, who has been covering this case, he says that he got info from Young Thug's mother that Young Thug is not accepting any plea deal that makes him become a felon. So it's a lot going on, child. And like I said already, there's chatter that it might even be postponed until after the election. I've been telling y'all, this whole thing is political. People are using this case as political gain for offices. And if this really gets postponed till after the election, not only will it solidify what we already know about Fulton County, that they are very, very, very seemingly corrupt, that this was about politics the whole entire time. And I'm interested to see what they negotiate and what will happen going forward. There's absolutely no way that the jury is not seeing any of this. Like, there's no way that the jury is not abreast to what's going on. Now that we got all the updates out the way, I checked in with Dennis Byron, who was at the courthouse, to see what was going on in the trial, and we are going to post that now. Shout out to the people who have been supporting. So what is the chatter been like? Explain to us, because this is streaming on my channel as well. What was the mood in the atmosphere when you first got into the courtroom today?
Okay, that's a good question. So I got there before anyone. Actually, I was the only reporter that made it inside the courtroom today. I was the only one that made it inside. So I got there around 8:30. The court was scheduled to start at 9:00. So I needed to get my name on the list. So I got my name as number one on the list, and they let me come in. They gave me instructions on not what area not to shoot, because there's a secure area that you can't shoot. Then they said we bring some of the defendants out. The lawyers weren't there. I believe the first one that came out was Mr. Huey, then Mr. Stillwell, then Yacht Gotti, and then Doug comes out. Doug was, I think, the third or fourth come out, and then I got a special photo I'm going to share in a little while. He comes out, and big smile on his face. He's looking happy, bright, and very jovial. And he says some things to some of the security personnel. Some I can't quote because I can quote some things, but I'll wait. Because we don't know what's going to happen on today. But when he came in, he essentially said to someone that this might be my last day seeing you guys. He told one of the sheriffs, he said, "Listen, if I go home today, I want you to get dreads," because he had a half an afro, and I thought it was funny. So he knew that there was negotiations obviously going on. He was just prepping people, and it seemed like they were happy for him. It seemed like all the people there were happy for him. And then I looked at Yacht Gotti. He was smiling. Then Stillwell was smiling. I'm like, okay. The only one wasn't smiling is Huey, and that's Huey. Nichols was in the courtroom as well, Mr. Nichols.
Well, Huey, I mean, obviously they're gonna ram him up a bit because of his pending case that he has going on that just broke the news. Like a week ago, 2 weeks ago?
You talking about his mother and
CO, the situation with him and the CO. That's what I was.
Now they don't call them COs in Fulton County. They call them sheriff deputies. COs is when you do. Yeah, they call them COs when you're doing state time. Because they're detainees now, so their activities don't need to be corrected once they are sentenced. Now they're going to the Department of Corrections. That's why they call them COs, Department of Corrections, correctional officers.
Oh, okay, different states, I guess. They call them COs out here.
You covered this YSL trial remotely. What were some of the things that you saw in the trial to make you form an opinion, and what was and why?
So I think that the trial was very nuanced because on one hand you have a lot of people who, regardless of the evidence, regardless of how egregious some of the evidence is, they just want Young Thug to be free no matter what. No matter how bad the evidence is, they don't care. I was looking at the evidence from both sides. Is there truth or not truth, guilt or innocence? And whether he's guilty or not, I'm going to stick with the facts that I see presented. So when I was watching the trial, I was looking to see what the facts are. Is Young Thug this big mob ringleader who has all of these guys out there committing crimes for him? And when I was looking at the case, I really didn't see that they officially pointed to him being like the shot caller. I'm sure maybe he probably is in real life, but in the court on what was presented,
I can't attest to that either.
In the court, what was presented, it didn't really look like they solidified a actual him being at the top. It looked like these guys grew up together. They are trying to survive. He's out making music, and he is still having associates out here in these streets, and record labels become rivals. I think that they did prove that there was a rivalry with If Gang. A lot of people like to be in denial, like no evidence. They didn't show any evidence. There was clear evidence that YSL and If Gang were beefing. You see his mama house get shot up. You see Little Woody's people house get shot up, and you see the retaliations going from both sides. There was a clear gang war that was happening. However, had the trial continued to go on, we're still waiting in the balance, but I think that it would have been individual people being held accountable. I don't really see like how much would have fell back on Young Thug.
To your point, there are some who say that this case should have never been grouped as a racketeering case, based on the evidence and seeing what individuals have done. It does appear from my standpoint that a lot of this was people were doing on their own. The prosecution obviously tried to introduce some things, but it didn't I didn't feel that it had the necessary grip, that gorilla grip that you expect to see in a case of this magnitude. Right now, there's negotiations, plea negotiations happening, discussions happening right now. So we're waiting around. Do you think that this will ultimately end in a favorable outcome for those involved?
I think that this is the first time that we've seen that there might be an end to the trial. I didn't think that there would ever be an end at all until it went to the jury. In my opinion, I thought that the only way that this was ever going to end in some type of halt was there was going to be some type of major jury thing. So, what I think as far as like what is at stake for them, if it's going to be favorable for them, I think just the fact that we're at this point to where the judge is fed up with them. We saw her go from unnecessary giggling, unnecessary laughing at stuff she shouldn't have been laughing to, till the last few weeks, her being short-tempered, short-fused, very thin-skinned, and very much tired of the nonsense and becoming more no nonsense as it became evident that the state was not really prepared in presenting this case. And it was mess up after mess up after mess up. So, how it will fare for the actual defendants, I'm not really sure, but this is an indication that it's moving in their direction somewhat to me.
Again, you make another good point that we did see a paradigm shift in the way this judge has been appearing towards the both sides, but more importantly, the prosecution, because it's their case in chief right now.
Yeah.
And she's pointing out things, and she's saying things that and if I've covered Judge Whitaker in the past. She's a seasoned prosecutor, former prosecutor, so she knows what should happen and should not happen. And right now, I think the people are fed up. I live in the county, and even the declaration of a mistrial without prejudice is better than nothing, because I don't think DA Will is going to deplete the resources that she has in her budget to go after this case again when they have made too many mistakes. However, the negotiations are happening, and from what I'm told, there's a lot more to go. They still have to keep pushing.
So, what is your opinion on how this will fare for the defendants?
Each defendant have their own charges. There's not going to be a broad brush stroke on everyone gets a car. You get a car. You get a car. No, you guys they're gonna pretty much match what people are. These overt acts, and seeing how they can get the best deal for each individual. And each lawyer has to negotiate for their client. They're not gonna. It's not gonna be everything all. Everyone's getting the same deal.
All the same pleas for each person.
That's not happening. So, the key is to get them to a point where people can live with whatever. I don't think they want a Montauk situation. His didn't end up too well.
So, what do you think as far as how the state handled the case?
I've seen better prosecutions. I'll use Tory Lane's case. You were in the courtroom. The prosecution did a much better job than the defense. And from just watching how they opening to the delivery of evidence, they did a better job. And they didn't take long to come. I think the trial was like a month, maybe, if that was about a month.
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Here you have so much evidence, and the judge said it yesterday. She said, "You guys got a lot of stuff here. This was bound to happen. You have so much evidence here. You guys didn't manage your case right." So I think that if they get an opportunity to do a do-over, it's not going to last this long. but I don't think they want to get there. The defense doesn't even want that to happen. They wanted a mistrial with prejudice, and I think the judge should have did that. I think based on everything she's been saying to the prosecution team, it should have been with prejudice. This,
But do you think that you really would do something with prejudice with murders on the line?
good question. That's a good question. A hard question too for her to think about. And the residents of Fulton County don't want, they had to make a case. Did they make a case good for Shannon Stillwell for example? Do you believe that they had a strong enough case on Shannon Stillwell? I mean, I think
Stillwell had the most exposure in this trial as far as wiretaps, communications that he had inside the jail, evidence outside of the jail, him being not one but two unalivings that he was supposed to be responsible for.
I think Max Shaw is a good attorney.
What'd you say?
I think Max Shaw is a good attorney.
Yeah, he's a good attorney, but at the end of the day, facts are the facts. Like, even with good attorneys, people are going to look at the facts. Now, being that the state did such a piss poor job in managing this case, the jury could overlook the facts and feel like, you know what, you guys did a bunch of shady stuff. We're not going to, look at the facts, but looking at the facts, he had the most exposure to me.
I would agree. I would agree just based on everything we've heard. And I think Doug has the least. How about that?
Definitely has the least.
So
and a lot of the times they kept trying to show, like, especially the last gang expert that they had to replace Dennis, and they're showing all of his promo things or whatever to show like all the shows that he had, all the bookings that he had, to then prove that he didn't have a promo for Donovan Thomas murder, which, okay, cool. He didn't have a show that he had a promo for, but that's what they said they went to, Miami for. However, you did show that he was very active, very busy, very booked. And how does he have time to carry out this criminal enterprise? Which, I mean, could he? Yeah, but did they prove that he did that? Not really.
And when they were throwing the flyers up, like artists travel to Miami all the time. That's the getaway spot. He just got off a one show, he did another show, and maybe they just didn't do a flyer for that. It could have been just a walkthrough. Come pick up the bag. Come here. You can't advertise this on the flyer because he might have had a conflict as well. Because if he had competing dates, and you can't advertise another flyer. So they don't know this, but I do events, so I understand that if I book an artist and that artist has a date that's paying more, I can't advertise on the fly. They can do a walkthrough.
Yeah, and then they showed that. Well, he didn't have a show in Miami, but I mean, here's something for Tampa though. And how far is Tampa away from Miami? They went to Miami, so.
Right. I'm not going to Tampa for vacation. I'm going to Miami. I'm gonna be on Ocean Drive. So I don't think that wasn't really strong evidence in my opinion. I think they were reaching, to be honest. They didn't understand the fact that he could have did 5 pickup bags in Miami and no one, so I don't think that was strong enough.
Sorry, go ahead.
Then the only other issue I had was when Adrian Bean was talking in the interrogation. If you recall, it was some talk about a woman being in the back car. Then he said, it was Doug in the back.
Thug, but he was supposed to. People thought it was a woman, but it was supposed to be Young Thug. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you make of that? Because you heard we said on the jail call. Do you think he was telling truth there, or you think he was setting Doug up by saying that on the jail call, knowing the phones are being recorded?
I think that a lot of them have low IQs and low education, and some of it on the jail calls, it's like, is this intentional? Are you really trying to and then are you just slow? A lot of them came off slow. So I don't know if he was trying to set him up and being intentional or not, but
you also have a hater in the group, or
Yeah.
someone might have been hating on him and saying that, like that. This guy this wasn't his first rodeo going to jail, so he had to know they tell you in the recording this call's being recorded, So I don't know. I think that was kind of you know,
Yeah. Somebody in the chat said, "Wow, did she just say that?" I did and did.
and did again.
A lot of them did not seem bright on the stand and did. Um. So, what else? Oh, so what did you make of the gang expert when they threw out Dennis's testimony? They brought her in to try to recoup some of or salvage some of what he was supposed to get in. And then on Cross from the State, she was basically like, yeah, the lyrics mean this, and means that, and this means that. And, she's coming off well versed. And then when Still and
Investigator Underwood.
yeah, when Steele came up and he was talking to her, he's like, well, what does this line mean? What does this line mean? Outside of what she was kind of like told to say or the
Right.
areas that she was pointed
Absolutely.
to say.
Absolutely.
When he brought
Absolutely.
up the lyrics outside of that, and he's like, okay, well, if you're an expert on lyrics, what does this mean? And she said, I didn't say I was an expert. And it's like, wait a minute.
They tried to redeem themselves with what Dennis did. Obviously he got his training from Boys in the Hood and Colors and Ministers to Society and a few rap hip hop magazines. Probably something that I've written in. I don't know. I got to ask him one day. So he reading my articles, but he should have probably had a little more training, professional training. And there's schools right now that teaches these courses. And the defense, as a matter of fact, have a witness on their list that would come in and run circles around these detectives because he teaches a course in Virginia, a college level course. So yeah, it was just, and then she didn't redeem herself, and you could tell when she got off the witness stand, just like, oh, what did they get me? They got me in this mess. And at this point, you got to question the training that they're actually getting, and if they plan on using rap lyrics to prosecute, they need better training. I never heard what I didn't hear. What I was looking to hear, if someone said I was undercover in a gang for 10 years, I infiltrated a gang. Now, if you were undercover and you infiltrated a gang and you were there, then you're living the lifestyle and you went deep undercover. I didn't hear anyone say they did undercover work. That's something that should be significant.
There's somebody that's because I've watched so many trials. I've been watching YNW Melly trial, this trial. Somebody did say that they were. Oh, that probably was Melly's trial. Never mind. Never mind. I think it was. Ask him about the 911 agent. What 911 agent?
Oh, she's Miss Latner's.
Sports.
Yeah, Miss Latner. She's good. She's good. She's she's good. She just
got hair laid every time.
She got Miss Latner's. Yeah, she is still on. Well, this case might not. This might be the last day. Covering this case. Or the next week, but Ms. Latner, she just came in just to interpret the CAD reports. They really couldn't do much with her because she's been around for a long time. I think she was on a job for like 15 years, maybe. And she came in is to interpret the CAD reports. They couldn't really mess up with her. She was just a fact witness.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So, what do you think was the strongest evidence presented, if any?
The strongest evidence. If I could be honest, Lil Rod's text messages, they were kind of those messages that Lil Rod and Blaylock, their communication, and Mariah and Breezy. There were some interesting messages. I don't remember all of them verbatim, but the way they were communicating. You guys weren't too smart, but then they were young.
Yeah, they were like what, 14, 15 years old.
Yeah, and they had problems with that, but I think that's probably. I'm just thinking, what other strong evidence did they have? I'm stuck on that. I think the text messages.
The wiretap big to you?
Oh yeah, the wiretaps. Yeah. Yeah, that was very yeah, but you had to be able to connect that to Thug. I I
Right.
I, I you know I'm not convinced that he knew a lot of what they were doing or co-signed it. He was probably, you heard people testify that he was trying to get him out of that life.
Mm,
Listen, come on tour with it. Do my, even Monk Tunk was his security. He didn't have no experience in security, but he was his muscle. He would go to the cities and pick out the security team. But I do think he got the short end of the stick. I think that he was trying to get out. He just signed the plea agreement for convenience. I don't believe that if he knew what he knows now, he would have signed that agreement because he wasn't out on the street even a year.